Welcome to NABHOOD'S 24th Annual International African American Hotel Ownership and Investment Summit and Trade Show. We're here hosting the 2020 virtual experience live from the campus of Florida International University's Chaplin School of Hospitality and Tourism Management. Today, we celebrate NABHOOD Scholarship Awards featuring keynote address by Chris Nassetta, President and CEO of Hilton. Today you'll hear from Bill Talbert from the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, as well as Byron Patel, Chairman of AAHOA. You'll also hear from the Honorable Hayden Hughes, Minister of Tourism for Anguilla, and remarks from DeShawn Porter of Hilton. Joining Christopher Nassetta will be civil rights activist and freedom rider Hank Thomas, as well as Raoul Thomas from CGI Merchant Group and the Gabriel Hotel Miami. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Andy Ingram, CEO, President, and founder of NABHOOD.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us. I'm happy you can be with us. You made this conference great. We've got over 350 folks that have registered for the conference, and we're happy about it. And we're so happy to be in Miami. On the video with me is my good friend, the president of the Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, Bill Talbert, to welcome us to Zoom Miami. Bill, Miami-tize us.
Thank you, Andy. 24 years, I guess next year is 25. Yep. Virtual, I think we've been involved. I think you've been in Miami more years than you've been somewhere else. In fact, the majority of the years you're here. You're never leaving again, Andy. We know that.
Thank you. I love Miami.
Thank you for inviting me to welcome the group. I was on the calls this morning. I jumped off. The county commission is meeting today on some issues that are important to all of us. But I told the mayor I'm going to welcome NABHOOD. You guys do the meeting, and I'll get back to you later. But thank you, Andy. You're physically not here in Miami this year, but the support of NABHOOD and the International Multicultural Summit, year number 7, Connie Kennard reminds me, didn't change even in this virtual format. As with the whole world, we are looking forward to getting back to a sense of normalcy, what is that? Hopefully next year. Virtual is great, but our industry in person is what we embrace and celebrate. We are looking forward to gathering again as things become safer to do so. You know, a lot has happened since March. You know, for me, it's 183 days we've been sheltering at home. I have to write it on my hand because it changes every day and I can't remember it. So day 183. Shortly, it was February 2nd, Miami had its record 11th Super Bowl, Super Bowl 54, the best Super Bowl in history. And then the pandemic hit for us March 16th. It reared its head and we had to shift physically and mentally to the best way to showcase the community and help our businesses that are directly related to our industry. We shifted much of our program to immediately reach out to conventions booked to get them rebooked in Miami for future years. We also, through the Multicultural Tourism and Development Department, thank you, Connie, worked as a conduit to disseminating information on grants, loans, and general opportunities for our businesses, many of them small, on a regular basis. We also offered programming, particularly to those small businesses, that we can help them during the down period and now during recovery. We even hosted an inspirational talk with our friend, Liberty City's own native Les Brown, called Building Forward Together, a very moving session that was moving for all of us. Very, very nice. Lastly, I mentioned the pandemic, COVID-19, but we had a second pandemic. It's not new, but just at the forefront again of the bit, it had to do with the killing of George Floyd. As a Bureau, we recommitted our support internally to doing our best to be inclusive and engaging on all of the diverse cultures in Miami when it comes to tourism opportunities to include the Black community. We made a commitment, we put it on our website almost immediately back in June, that we will always strive to be part of the solution to eradicate racism. We will do it the best way that we can through our sphere of influence in the tourism hospitality realm. Andy, once again, thanks, congratulations on bringing the virtual conference back. And I'm going to predict next year, we're going to be face-to-face. Welcome home, Andy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bill, for that great welcome. I really appreciate it. Appreciate Miami. And now my good friend, Byron Patel, who's the chairman of the Asian American Hotel Owners Association. Byron?
Thank you, Andy, and the whole team of NABHOOD for giving me a few minutes to speak on behalf of AAHOA. As AAHOA, we are proud to be the voice of America's hotel owners. Our industry, as all of you know, is facing incredibly trying times. Not only are the owners worried about the safety of their guests and employees, they're also dealing with the liquidity crisis that is pushing their businesses to the brink. That's why we are focusing our efforts on advocacy and education. Our members and our team in Washington are sharing the stories of owners and their employees and lawmakers. They are advocating for policies that will help hoteliers and hospitality workers come out on the other side of this crisis. From the second round of PPP or opening the Main Street lending program to providing relief to borrowers with CMBS loans, our government needs to do what it takes to save our industry. AAHOA's education offerings are helping hoteliers stay up to speed on the best practices to keep the guests and employees safe. We've done about around 125 webinars, just COVID-related topics, and they're available for everyone through our website. So I urge all of you to take advantage of that. We're also helping owners communicate their needs to our brand and industry partners. We're all in this together, and we'll all get through this together. And we are stronger together. That's why we as AAHOA are proud for our long-standing partnership with NABHOOD and Andy. The work that we do on behalf of our members, whether it's advocacy, education, networking, or building a brand and vendor relationships, benefits the entire hospitality industry. We look forward to our continued partnership with NABHOOD as we work together to get on the road to recovery sooner than later. Thank you again, Andy and NABHOOD.
Thank you very much, Byron. Listen, we always welcome that partnership. We look forward to working with you, particularly in these times when the lobbying elected officials to give us some relief in the hotel business. Next, my good friend, all the way from the beautiful island of Anguilla, the Minister of Tourism of Anguilla, my good friend, Hayden Hughes. Hayden, give us a 1-minute greeting and invite us to come to Anguilla once you open up.
Well, Andy, you have been to Anguilla before, so you know the magnificence of Anguilla. Good afternoon to everybody, and it's indeed a pleasure and an honor to be here in this seat today, and also to be engaging with the partners that Andy has put together. Greetings from Anguilla. As you know, we are one of the few countries in the world that can boast of a COVID-free environment. At present, we don't have any of the standard operating procedures as it relates to social distancing and what have you that the rest of the world continues to face because of our prevailing status. And we don't believe that we will remain COVID-free indefinitely, because as we are continually challenged with balancing the healthcare of our people while creating economic opportunities, it is a possibility, even remote as it is, given the protocols that we are putting in place, that there may be an instance where we may have one or two that may escape our grasp. Be that as it may, we hope to retain that status as we look to reopen Anguilla, albeit in a much modified manner. As you know, the world has been hit by this COVID virus, and right now as it is, we can say that we do not have any tourists on Anguilla, and we are an economy that is completely reliant on tourism and foreign direct investment. So that puts us at a predicament, as you all are. So, but I believe that together we can share ideas as it relates to how do we open safely, how we create opportunities, and how we rebound from this global pandemic. The global pandemic won't be with us forever, And coming out of this, we have to emerge stronger than before and learn some of the lessons that have been taught during this pandemic. So again, it's a pleasure to be here. And hopefully, I won't be as optimistic as our counterparts because I didn't believe at the start of this pandemic we'd be here today. So I won't be as optimistic to say that we'll be able to meet face-to-face in an early part of next year, but it's hopeful. And hope springs eternal, right? So I just hope that we can meet face to face very shortly. Hopefully that we can arrest this situation across the globe as we have arrested it here in Anguilla. And what happens in the rest of the world will dictate what happens here in Anguilla as we move forward.
Thank you, Hayden. Thank you very much for that. And we have a very dear friend that joined us. I thought we were going to have him as a video, but he's here in person. Hank is one of only 2 civil rights freedom riders alive today. I talked to him many times. I spent some time at his house. And I have no idea at 18 years old what I was doing, but whatever I was doing was not good. But Hank was riding through the South, trying to make sure we have a better way of living in the day that is coming to fruition.
Anyone who wants to know a little bit about Hank Thomas's approach to business has to learn a little bit of United States civil rights history. Thomas was one of the original 13 freedom bus riders in the 1960s. The experience has changed the way he faced a challenge.
In the town of Rock Hill, South Carolina, just below Charlotte, John Lewis and I were scheduled to get off the bus and go into the bus station and desegregate the bus station. As soon as John Lewis got off, he was attacked by a mob, and then I had to get off behind him, and I went into the white-only waiting room. I was immediately arrested by the police, taken to the police station, and then later that night taken out of the police station and taken to a Klan fest, if you will. There were a group of Klansmen who were waiting for me and waiting for the police to deliver me to them. The only way I escaped, I knew I was in pretty good shape athletically, and I was able to outrun them, and at a very opportune time.
Hank's ability to make a move at the right time probably saved his life that night. But his friends and family claim that the same sense of timing has also made him wealthy.
Hank is able to see the potential and opportunities where others that are more conservative would not. And it seemed like everything he touches, it seemed to just turn into gold.
Hank had established himself as a front-running franchisee within the system with many, many accomplishments.
I have learned over the years that he has very good instincts. So I tend to follow his instincts, but I don't do it blindly.
Hank describes Yvonne as his friend, wife, and business partner. Together they have owned, operated, and developed Marriott hotels, Fairfield Inns, and continue to operate 2 McDonald's restaurants.
You're the brains of the operation.
Well, but brains don't talk and do all that.
But we have a good combination.
We play off of each other.
Celebrating freedom rider, civil rights activist, hotel owner, and NABHOOD board member, Hank Thomas.
Hank, my dear friend, how are you? You've got 2 minutes to say hello before we get on with the rest of the program.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you very well, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for your support as our board member. Thank you for being an inspiration to all of us, particularly myself.
Thank you very much. It is my pleasure and honor to be here with you. Now, this is my first time doing this, so if I make a few missteps, please understand and forgive me. By George, I wish I had the background that you have right there. What is that you're doing? Were you on the beach someplace?
I'm on the beach working. You know, Chris has a house in the Bahamas. I figure I'll go to his house and stand in front of the beach.
Okay. But anyway, it is my pleasure to be here, and I do look forward to speaking with you a little bit later on.
Thank you, Hank. And now, a young lady that I can always tell her that I know her mom, who went to the same school I went to in Jamaica. She is heading Hilton global diversity efforts. And I'm happy to have her introduce my good friend, Chris Nassetta. DeShawn, you want to introduce our speaker, and we'll all disappear and come back later?
Most definitely. Well, I just want to say it is an absolute pleasure to be here. And Andy, yes, you definitely have all the jokes about going to the same school as my mom. So I will say, since the very beginning, some 22 years ago, Hilton has been standing with NABHOOD as a partner and a sponsor based on a shared commitment to increase diversity and inclusion in hospitality. Together, we have seen successes, conquered setbacks, and leaned into opportunity. This year, our industry faced unprecedented challenges on many, many fronts. And as we pivot to recovery and diversifying our workforce is going to be a core element to our strategy, therefore making the partnership with NABHOOD even more significant. For years, we have greatly benefited, Andy, from your candor and your commitment to the mission. You truly lead with heart, and you have been instrumental in the growth and expansion of NABHOOD. So I will say, on behalf of Hilton, we thank you, Andy, and your entire team for leading the way with another great conference in a virtual platform, and for believing in all the opportunities that our industry provides. And so without saying, I'm happy in which to introduce my CEO, Chris Nassetta.
Well, thanks to Sean. That unbelievably well done. And Andy, I want to say thank you and to the entire NABHOOD team for the invitation to speak today. I think it was a little over a year ago that I was with you live in Miami, and we had a great conversation together. And it's sad that we're not together in person, but I appreciate you guys organizing this so that at least we could do it virtually. And I, like you, am an optimist, and I'm optimistic the next time we do it, we will all be back together in person in Miami. In the meantime, I don't know how everybody else feels. I know we've been doing a lot of Zoom calls and the like, but I do feel like this is sort of a lifeline for all of us that are in this amazing business of hospitality that I think we all chose because we like people. We're hospitable people. And so the idea of sitting at our desks, having Zoom calls, and being quarantined in our homes is generally not good for me. My guess is not good for most of us. In any event, I love the background, and as you know, I do in fact love the Bahamas. I really look forward to talking a little bit more about diversity and inclusion in a few minutes, but maybe a couple of comments I was told you wanted me to make about state of what's going on with us and the industry. I'm not going to waste a lot of your time or anybody's time talking about the last 6 months a whole lot. I think we all would agree that we use the word unprecedented too often these days, but it is probably a reasonably accurate way of describing what's going on. Our company has lived through, world wars, Great Depressions. I've lived through, the S&L crisis, 9/11, dot-com bubble burst, the Great Recession, and now this. And this is deeper and could be longer than anything we've experienced before, in the sense that it struck at the very core of our business, which is mobility, and had a dramatic impact. We're not through it. We got a long way to go, which I'll talk about, but I think we're past the worst of it. And my own view is, as the eternal optimist, we are on the road to recovery. Through it all, I want to say, to DeShawn and the rest of the Hilton team all over the world, I'm really proud of everything that our family at Hilton has done. We've always been, since the founding of the company 101 years ago, driven and united by purpose, committed to being part of solutions, and honestly trying to help lead society and help lead our industry to the extent that we can in making the world a little bit better place. And I think we would all agree, all of us need to pitch in and put our shoulder into making the world a little bit better place in this time. It's been an especially difficult time, as I know you all have been talking about. For our owners, we've been probably spending more time, definitely spending more time, and I've been spending more time on that issue than anything else, trying to support our owners and their teams, and that, has been on the government side with relief for frontline team members, of course, but also relief in the form of liquidity and other forms of relief for owners to help get through this period of time, health and safety protocols, relaxing standards on a temporary basis to make sure that we're doing our part to allow people the flexibility they need from an ownership point of view to get to the other side. We've also been doing a lot of work to make sure that when we get to the other side, and we will, that we have our loyal customers that still are loyal to us and want to come back. So providing flexibility and peace of mind to our customers has been very important. That, being on the front of our feet on cancellation policies, extension of loyalty benefits and the like, and simple things like what we call clean stay, the hygiene and cleanliness in our rooms, event ready, making sure that we have, when people are ready to meet, and some people are meeting, that we have the absolute best protocols to offer our customers, so that, again, we can support our owners. We've also been really focused in this time frame on our communities. We were founded, as I said, with a purpose, which is to make the world a better place. And even when we're in very difficult times, we at Hilton believe it's not just important, it's more important than ever that we lean in and we become part of the solution for our communities. We were really proud to partner with American Express and contribute 1 million free room nights to first responders. We were really proud to work with World Central Kitchen to provide meals to those same frontline responders. And we're really proud to have hundreds of other examples in hotels all around the world where we were supporting our local communities and supporting the crisis relief efforts. Now, as I said, we are starting to see improvement, and it's time to really, we think, focus our attention on getting through the crisis and recovery. I think travelers are starting to get itchy, and certainly as they start to feel safe again, and obviously a vaccine would go a long way to helping that, but even without it, I think on a very cautious basis, they're starting to do it. We need to, both at Hilton as an industry, be ready to welcome them with open arms. I am very optimistic about the future of the business. We talk frequently about the golden age of travel, and I think some would say the pandemic has killed the golden goose. I am not one of those people. I do believe that obviously we have slowed the velocity of the business for a period of time, but that the spirit of humans to get out and exchange ideas, to see other cultures, to be able to do business, to interact with people is unstoppable. And as people start to feel safe again, and we get both the country and the world back on its feet, I think the spirit to travel and the desire to have experiences is unstoppable. And so I think when we wake up in 2 or 3 years from now, and you can mark the date today, and let's say 3 years from now, Andy, we'll have a discussion. I think we will feel very good about the business. I think we have an opportunity, all of us, each company, to do our part to make ourselves even stronger, so that when we do wake up and over the next 2 or 3 years and demand comes back, that we're in a better position to perform and to drive profitability and importantly to serve our customers. And so while it's been tough, and certainly, as they say, we're not through it, and we have some wood to chop, as they say, to get fully to the other side. We will, and I think as an industry, if we stick together and do the right things by our customers, do the right thing by our owners, do the right thing by our team members, I think we will end up ultimately in a really good place. Andy, you know me, I could go on forever, but I'm not, because I think we were going to have a panel discussion, get into some Q&A, which I think people would find more interesting than hearing speeches from me. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Chris, that was great. I think as we look forward to the industry, where's Raoul? I don't see Raoul.
I don't see him.
Yeah, he's here somewhere. I know he's in the green room. But thank you for all your support and your leadership. I think under the current condition, it is critical to have leaders like you that not only understand the industry, but is really determined on how we move forward. Where do you see Hilton, much like when you first came here and you brought Hilton in from California, I like to say that, and you had to rebuild it. Where do you see Hilton going after the pandemic?
Yeah, I sort of said it a little bit in my introductory comments, Andy. I think, while this is clearly difficult to manage, I think the reality is it's an opportunity as well. So with crisis comes opportunity, and certainly in the early stages of the crisis, all of our focus was on the crisis. It was all on the people, protecting team members, protecting customers, the hundreds of millions of folks that we serve and that work in the hotels. There's certainly an element of protecting the business from a liquidity and a balance sheet and all of those points of view. But very rapidly, it turned to recovery and taking advantage of these times in every regard to build loyalty. And the way we build loyalty from the standpoint of how I think of it is thinking about all of our stakeholders. That's thinking about our customers, thinking about our owners, thinking about our team members, and thinking about our communities, and thinking about in this time frame, a time frame where everybody's under duress, where they're going to remember what you do more than ever, more than they do in good times. They will remember what you do in bad times. How do we do the right things? How do we lead in this time with purpose? How do we lead, standing by our values, no matter how difficult it gets, no matter how challenging the environment is? How do we stick by our values and make really good decisions that are long-term decisions that are in support of our stakeholders, so that when we get to the other side, that we've built incremental loyalty from all of those stakeholder groups. And as a consequence, my belief is when we get to the other side, and we will be, as a company, much like, Andy, your comment about the Great Recession, we will be leaner and meaner. We will be a higher growth company. I think we will deliver, even though I think we've done a good job. I think we have an opportunity to deliver for our owners even better results, and do with our ownership community an even better job for our customers, and do all that in a way that is more relevant to what our customers want, and that will help drive higher margins for our ownership community, so that it helps them get to the other side. But importantly, when they get to the other side, they have a more profitable business model than when we went into it. And so I think it was Rahm Emanuel that said, or somebody before him maybe, don't let a good crisis go to waste. I think that is my attitude, and I think we have an obligation to do it, right? There are a lot of souls on board this ship, right? There's between customers and owners and our team members and all the people in the communities that we serve, we got a lot of souls on board, and it's really, I take that responsibility very seriously. And I do believe it. I'm an optimist. You know me well enough to know that I'm always going to be an optimist, but I believe it. And I believe at Hilton, we proved it in the Great Recession, right? I think everybody, not to be too dire, everybody thought we were dead. We were over leveraged, the part of an LBO with Blackstone, all the headlines were basically that it was the biggest private equity loss in history, but we never lost faith. And it was the same sort of circumstances. We kept a steady hand on the wheel. We had a good strategy. We knew what our purpose was. We had a very strong set of guiding principles and values, and we stuck by those, and we grounded out and ended up in a really good place, in a better place than when we went into the Great Recession. And if I do my job and our team does their job with me, we will do the same thing. And as I said, I feel like we have an awesome responsibility to do just that.
Well said, Chris. And Raoul just joined us. Raoul, welcome. Chris, I want to ask Raoul a question, but one question that I had for you: why is diversity so important to Hilton and your commitment to NABHOOD? Why is that so important?
I think it's really simple. We can't be successful in achieving our fundamental purpose without it. If our fundamental purpose is we want to make the world a better place, and in doing that, that means allowing for people to travel safely and have experiences and build relationships and have cultural exchange. By the very nature of that, it's a big world, and we're serving an unbelievably diverse customer base. There is no way to do that in the way that we need to without having incredible diversity in our own ranks to serve those customers, to make decisions on how to best deliver the experiences and the hospitality that they want. And so this is something that has been at the core of our business for 101 years, and certainly in my 13 years, as you know, because you and I have talked about it a lot, has been a core principle that for us, by the way, I think it's important because societally, I think we all need to lean in to do this because we can make a difference and improve our society. But I also think it is a business imperative for us to do this, to be able to deliver what we need to deliver. And so NABHOOD, you guys have been an amazing partner for us for a long, long time, as DeShawn, said, I think so well. I've enjoyed our relationship. One of the things I appreciate, Andy, about you and NABHOOD is you don't mince a lot of words. You and I have had lots of conversations over the years about the things that I think we've done well and the things that maybe we could do better. In fact, you and I had a conversation recently on that. And, one of those, by the way, with your help, resulted in our having a Black board member, which is not something that, that we started working on, for the record, post George Floyd. I've been working on this, as Andy knows, for a couple of years and trying to find the right person. But we went and did that, and that was sort of with your help and guidance. And while I'm proud of what we've done in diversity and inclusion, and if you look at the stats, listen, Great Place to Work says we're the #1 in diversity in the country, right? So we've done some things right, but here's the thing: we haven't done enough. Right? We've not done enough, and you and I both know it, and we've talked about it. We have not done enough. And all of us in this industry particularly, but across industries, if we all just lean in and do a little bit more, we can make a big difference. Government is not going to be able to, there's no silver bullet that government or changing the laws is going to fix this entirely. There's certainly things that can be done to make it better. But I think this is where business can be so impactful if we all lean in and do our part. And I think, for me, it's critical to our success. It's critical, for me as a person, because I am worried about what is going on, and and I think the only solution is to have to focus on equality, and the only way to get there is through opportunity. And so I worry about that, and when I worry about things, my best way to deal with it is not lose sleep every night. It's to do something about it. It's to err to action, and I think that's from my own point of view, that's been the most disturbing thing throughout the years. Is I feel good about things we've done, but we end up I mean broadly as society talking about these things, they flare up. And then, we talk about it for a while, and then it dies back down and we don't act on it. And so I'd say, the thing that I appreciate with the relationship with NABHOOD is that both with us, but others, help keep let's help move the industry. Let's help keep people's feet to the fire and err to action and doing things. And that, from my point of view, means top down and bottom up. Top down in the sense of doing things like we did, having real diversity on your board, real diversity in the most senior ranks of management, but bottoms up, as you and I are working on, thinking about developing leadership in the hotels that are, and getting a much heavier component of diverse leadership as general managers that then provide the pipeline of talent, all the way up, to the top slot, including at my level. And so I could go on, I won't. Raoul, I know, and others have lots they want to talk about, but I don't think it's just important. I think it's mission critical. I think if we're going to have a society that has equality and that has stability, we need to focus on this. And I think if we're going to deliver to a diverse set of customers, we absolutely have to do this.
You mentioned leadership, and that's a great segue into Raoul. I mean, look at Raoul in Miami, great vision. Raoul, last year when Chris came to the Gabriel, I said to you and I said to Chris, I want you to stay at this hotel. So you see not only his product, but what I think is one of the finest hotels in Miami. Raoul, you built a great platform. Tell us a little bit about yourself And what gave you, or what draws from your business inspiration to build a private equity platform and to do what you're doing at the Gabriel? Raoul?
Hi, Andy. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Can't hear you and see you.
Okay, great. Chris, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Thank you, Andy.
I would say
Thank
long
you.
time no talk, but we've been talking a lot.
I know. We talk a couple times a week, it seems, right?
Good to see your face. I haven't seen your face in a while.
Yeah, good to see your face. You look great as well. Thank you.
That's good talk, Raoul. So I like that.
Yeah. So Andy, I think you asked an interesting question. I think from my perspective, the way I would share this is that, I've had many mentors and influences over my life, and some of those draw from the way I was brought up as a child, and influences that my parents have, as most of us will say as mature adults today, that our parents are probably the foundation of that. But I think my inspiration from business was, doing things that others, would tend to shy away from. And in doing so, I think I drew inspiration and guidance from leaders. I'm a student of history. And I think if you look at people like Bob Johnson, who became the first billionaire, he made a significant impact in the hospitality sector. He created a diverse portfolio of hotels, but closer to home for me, which is Steve Schwartzman. He created a company along with Pete Peterson in 1985, with about $400,000, and today it's the largest alternative manager in the world with $546 billion under management. I think I've always had a view where I've been aspirational to the point where people have probably said, it's more audacious, it's more unrealistic, but I think my vision has created these unique opportunities that our platform is doing today. And I think we approach it with a sense of optimism and excitement, and always looking for a contrarian view of thinking to these opportunities has been really the bread and butter of how we have defined ourselves and our track record as a firm, as a manager. And in this industry today, as you know, Andy, and Chris can echo this, representation only comes from access to capital. And unless you have it, you're scouting on the outskirts, you haven't had a seat to the table. So I think our platform, and I think private equity as a vehicle, creates the most efficient and effective way of having ownership. And we mobilize capital through that, and allows us to do what we do in a special way. And always with the mindset, though, that it's important to think about the impact we make in the communities that we invest in. And I think that has been dear to my heart. It's dear to Chris's. We've talked about this quite often. Wherever we have our investments, we look to make an impact, Andy. So in summary, in a nutshell, I hope I answered your question, but that would be the way I would describe it.
Well, you answered my question and provided a lot of information, but when you look at Miami and you look at diversity, earlier you were on a podcast where you were streaming with Anthony and Glenn Houseman. You had Warren Thompson, you had Hapti, you had Craig Livingston, who's building a hotel in Harlem. When I look across the spectrum, I see a lot more Raoul Thomas. And I know one of the things you talked about is your consciousness. We had a meeting a couple of months ago where we looked at your backyard, which is Overtown. And the question you asked me is, what can we do to help? I mean, I don't see too many folks, unfortunately, doing what you want to do with the Gabriel name. What drives that? You want to help people, you want to provide education. I'd love to see you come to FIU and talk to folks about what you do. And more importantly, since we're all from the Caribbean, to have you back in Jamaica with me so we can talk about doing something there. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, great. I mean, you're absolutely correct. I mean, what draws me to doing the things that we do in terms of giving back to the communities that we're in. One, it's the right thing to do, as Chris alluded to, in terms of business. Having a very viable asset in isolation in a community or in a particular location without looking at your surroundings is very naive and short-sighted. And I think, as long investors, which we are in hospitality, our viewpoint to hospitality is very long. This is why we continue to, even today, to look at opportunities to deploy capital in this segment. You have to be cognizant and conscious, playing in that word, of the communities to where you hold very viable investments, where you've deployed your own capital and that of investors. So I think that's the first thing I approach. This is not in isolation. It has, my assets are impacted by the value of the communities around it and how they thrive and how well they do. But I think also personally for me, you know, you and I have talked about this in a personal side, that I have an angel, which is my mom, who passed at a very young age. She was 62 years old, but her impact to the world was beyond description. I lose words in describing what she did, but also what she did for me. And I just saw examples and examples of where she lived a life where it was giving, and she was very blessed with great fortune, and she dedicated her heart and work in giving back. And that rippled in so many multiples of ways in terms of just a universal lining, but just people's lives that she changed, that is ingrained in us in terms of what my company is about and the legacy that we have to live here. And it's important for my whole organization to reflect those values.
You know what, that's interesting. I remember when Chris held the reception at the hotel, working on that and bringing that to fruition. You decided to partner and well, let's just use a better word. You've got the Gabriel. You're looking to work with companies. What inspired you to work with a Hilton? Is it Bill Fortier, my good friend, or John Kosovich? Is it Chris, or is it the whole DNA that Hilton brings to the table?
Yeah, I think you know, first it starts with exactly what you said. It starts with the people that you align with, and you know, Bill and John and Chris, you know, DeShawn, everybody has been exceptional. We can go through the list. Chris has created a culture over there that's so unique. I'm not here to be his hype person, but I draw inspiration from that daily. I reflect. I said I'm a student of history. I've looked at, you know, evolution of companies. I've looked at industries, and you can see he's been a pioneer. So my affinity to Hilton is drawn by the people first and foremost, but then of course, when you look beyond that, you see the execution, you see what they've done. And Chris has a very, as his organization does, a significant commitment to diversity, to inclusion. And I think that's very, very sincere. And I think that's what draws me to it. It's very much a human connection. And that's how we do build business. We build it in relationships.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I like to call on Bill Fortier a lot because he's our direct contact and he's steady. He's been supporting us from the beginning, and him along with John Kosovich is such a team. When we started talking about a program,
Andy, I agree with that. If you could, maybe we can all loan him $5 so he can get a haircut.
Listen, I lost my hair, Chris. You still have your so Bill is.
I was watching him earlier, and you know, I thought Bill's been holed up in the house too long. We need to. But I think Raoul, I don't want to. Raoul said it so perfectly. You know, Andy, we give you a little bit of credit. You know, Raoul and I had known each other, but when we got together last summer, I don't want to speak for him, but I'll speak for me. I thought we hit it off, and it was even before people. It was purpose. You know, that I see in Raoul a person that has a lot of purpose. That he is not doing things just to do them. He's doing things to have an impact and do them the right way and do them well. And that was really abundantly clear to me, just staying at the Gabriel, spending, a day and a half there, having the chance to catch up. And, what we're doing today with the Conscious Collection of Hotels with Raoul and his team is an outgrowth of that, which started with, here's a person that we trust. Here's a person that is doing things for the right reason, that has built a great team that can execute and that has a real vision in the sense of what he and they are trying to do. And I guess maybe I'll sound like an old curmudgeon, maybe 20 or 30 years ago, I didn't realize all that. I think I did, because I was like Raoul, I was raised well, both by my mom and dad. And they gave me an unbelievable value system. But I'll say this, and I never abandoned it, for the record, never have, never will. But I think you sort of lean into it harder the older you get, with a little bit more wisdom of maybe having done things with the wrong people for the wrong reasons in business and in various partnerships. And, it just, when we started talking about this and have been, talking frequently and pulling all this together over the last year. Just, it felt right for all the right reasons.
Well, no, I think that's fine, because I wish more CEOs, quite frankly, Chris, the buck stops at the top. And our discussion with you and putting an African American on your board, I hope you will bear with us and take a leadership in bringing these CEOs together so we can really create what I consider the greatest industry in the world. Diversity.
You can count on me. You can count on me. I'm not fooling around.
I appreciate that, and we are going to count on you, and we have, because we want to build more hotels. And I know Raoul and Craig and Warren and all those guys. Warren, for example, when we started with Warren, he's now putting African American owned restaurants and hotels.
Good for him. Yeah.
We sat with Isaiah Thomas to talk about the champagne and the NBA. We've been talking with the NBA Players Association, and we want to bring them so they can look at Hilton hotels, look at all the other brands, and decide this is a great business, just like Raoul. Where do you see us going after this pandemic? I heard some projections earlier from the experts, 24, 22, 21. What do you think we're going up? Should we still be building hotels, or should we just all go to the Bahamas and stay?
Well, we should all go to the Bahamas, because we should always all go to the Bahamas, but that doesn't mean we should stop building hotels. I think naturally here in the United States, the world's a big place, and I think it's a different answer depending on where in the world you are. But I think here in the United States, I think the building of new hotels is going to slow down as it does in every down cycle. Both because the economics support it less, but the financing environment will support it less for a period of time. And so I think that's what we're going to go through over the next 2 or 3 years. I don't think that is a bad thing. I know people are probably shocked to hear me say that, because we are accused of just wanting to add new units. But the reality is, what I want, having done this for my whole career, 37 years now. We want a healthy industry, and so it is healthy to sort of reboot the hard drive occasionally. And I think that's in part not what we would have wanted to cause it with a global pandemic, but that's in part what's happening. But reality is, I said it in my introductory comments, and I said, mark the time, 3 years from today, we're going to wake up, and this industry is going to not just be back on its feet, it's going to be better, and it's going to be stronger, because we're all going to be better at what we do. We're going to be better at serving customers and defining what they want much more in a much more refined way. We're going to be able to deliver better margins for owners. We're going to be leaner and meaner ourselves. And demand will be back. I will promise you, the demand levels that we saw in 18 and 19 will be back. I think it'll probably be more, if you made me bet, I'd say 2023. And will it be exactly the same makeup of demand, the same exact trip occasions? No, there'll be some substitution effects. Some things that required travel are now going to be done this way, an internal meeting that's not high value. But other things that are very high value are going to require in-person meetings and travel, and they're going to add to that. It's like what technology has done. All of these things, it's added to people's efficiency. Yes, they may say, I don't need to travel for this purpose, but then it allows them to go out and travel for a higher value purpose that helps them drive their business. So anybody that thinks that people are never going to travel again for leisure, they're not going to want to travel for business groups. That's a really, I personally think, a naive view, because the minute businesses get back on their feet, they got to start competing again. Their sales teams got to sell, they got to innovate, they got to partner, a partnership, that they're trying to pull together, and their core competitor, or one of them, goes out and outmaneuvers them. You think they're not going to be traveling the next day? They're going to. This is not a new normal. This is a temporary setback that is based on a lack of mobility, and then it will be impacted by a recessionary environment. But as we get through that over the next 2 or 3 years, I think people are you cannot stop their desire to travel and their need to travel, because we live in a competitive world. So business travel is, people are out there traveling to get things done, to create alpha in their businesses. And I hate to be the person that explains to their boss, yeah, I saved you a nickel, but our core competitor beat me out because they got on a plane and went and met with them and had dinner with these guys and and got the sale or got the partnership or did whatever. So I'm a blazing optimist that it'll be back, and I'm happy to take a general person's wager that 3 years from today, you guys will have to concede he was right. Like, demand levels are back, and the golden age of travel is upon us.
I agree with you, Chris. And Raoul, you're building hotels. Your outlook, you agree with Chris or you don't agree with Chris?
I completely agree with Chris. I'm excited.
So do I. You're building hotels. Your outlook, you agree with Chris or you don't agree with Chris?
I completely agree with Chris. I'm excited.
So do I. We need to be back in business where people need to travel.
No, I think everything Chris said summarizes and hits it on the head. This is a 3-year period of recovery, and I think our viewpoint is real long in hospitality, as I said earlier. But we want to deploy capital during this time. This is where you can find opportunities. I'm trying to be kind in my words because I want to be respectful of the industry. But this is where opportunities are, and this is our view. I do believe the mix will change on the other side of this. To flip the coin, I think some of the makeup will change. I think the demand drivers will be influenced by this period and this time and what we've had. And I think we want to have an operating model that meets that as well. But I'm excited to see what happens. And I think this is a unique time to partner with with NABHOOD and with Hilton and others, so we can get a more positive and a more optimistic message out that this is really where generational shifts can happen and opportunities can arise.
Good. Chris, as we wrap up, one final comment. I know we look across the spectrum. We see the George Floyd, we see the Black Lives Matter, we see opportunity. But as you said earlier, we also see a bright spot. We'll be in a better place after the pandemic. If you can say in a few short words, how will we be, not just as an industry, as a country, how would we all be able to move forward and have the optimism that we at this conference have, and you in particular, along with Raoul, because we see the better space. What's your thoughts on that in wrapping up?
I not to oversimplify it, Andy, but I'm a person that likes to act and get things done and distill things down to their most basic components. I think the way for us to wake up in 3, 4, 5, 6 years and feel like we made a difference and to feel like we're in a better place is to act, and it's to create opportunities. That's where we can make a difference. And so it's the things that you and I have been talking about. It's when I wake up in 3, 4, and 5 years, what does my senior management team look like? When I look at the picture on the annual report, what does my board look like? What does my most senior management team look like? What if I look at all of the general managers, of the thousands of general managers in this system, what does that look like? And I don't like what it looks like today. It's pretty good. That's why we're number one in Great Place to Work and Diversity, but it is not representative of the broader population makeup the way it should be. So for me, it's about action that leads to creating opportunities. And I think if we actually work together, and NABHOOD can be a huge enabler in this regard to help take all of our best practices and everybody else's and share those and help push this along, I think we'll all feel a lot better about, at least the fact that we leaned in and did something. And this is one of those areas where I'd say, there are a lot of areas to compete on and like this deal or that deal. This is not one of them. This is one where our industry, can work together and can create opportunity, which I think is the key word. And I think NABHOOD can play a really important role in helping, sort of transfer best practices to make sure that everybody's game is as good as it should be, so that we don't wake up in 3 or 4 or 5 years and say we didn't do anything. So to me, I feel like we can act and we can create opportunity, and that opportunity leads us to a better place.
I appreciate that, Chris. Raoul, any parting words? One thing, Chris, Hilton has always led the effort. Steve Ballenbach and RLJ, Ewart Park, really thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for giving us John and Bill and the rest of your team. Bill doesn't have to get a haircut. I like Bill. Raoul, any parting words?
He looks a little bit like a hipster. That's all.
Remember he's from California. Remember that.
I'll get used to it. I guess I'll get used to it.
Yeah, Andy, I think everything you said. I think Bill is we keep Bill up too late at night. So because like you, I call him Bill, endlessly, and he's always giving in his time. Probably like getting a haircut, as you suggested. But I think in parting words, similar to what Chris said, and picking up, we look at, as an investor, what I would like to see in 3-4 years is we made an impact beyond the returns of our investments, right? Investments are predicated on a level of return, expectations are there, and we'll be very focused on that. But the question I'll ask myself is, did I impact the communities for where those investments were? Did I change lives? Did I represent myself and my firm as an example to what is possible for communities of color, for aspirational young people that are coming out and looking to do this as my predecessors did, like Bob Johnson, Don Peebles, and the list goes on. So I think I will measure myself against looking in the mirror and seeing from a perspective of impact. Did I do not only fulfilling the obligations of what I have as a manager of capital, but did I do it in a way where it made a broader impact to society, and something that my parents, as Chris talked about, who I'm very close to in terms of just our upbringing and how we view, would be proud of.
Thank you. Very well done. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. This is great. Chris, as always, thanks for your support. Raoul, thanks for your support. Yeah. I think as a team, we're going to do well. I feel comfortable that this industry is in the hands of guys like yourself. Chris, we're gonna convene at some point and bring all these CEOs together and let them learn from the best practice how it's really done. Thank you. There's a Hilton video coming up before the next panel. So I just want to say goodbye and thank you for your time. Enjoy.
Thank you, guys. Raoul, good to see you. Andy, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Good to see
you. Thank you.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you for joining us for NABHOOD'S Scholarship Awards and Hilton Keynote with Chris Nassetta of Hilton. Please visit our website at nabhood.com or follow the hashtags NABHOOD and Black-Owned Hotels to learn more about the National Association of Black Hotel Owners, Operators, and Developers.